Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. So today we will talk about Ansible and how we are going to use Ansible for the network automation. I know there are a lot of tutorials and information available on internet about Ansible, and which is really helpful, and in fact the official documentation is pretty good, and if one go through that, I think they can learn a lot from there. So we will just try to keep it simple, precise, and we will just cover some basic points regarding why Ansible and what Ansible is, and then we will just jump to the installation of Ansible, and then we can perform some basic tasks there. So if even, I mean, you can go on internet and look for Ansible there as well. So if you look for what is Ansible, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of links there. So as you can see, Ansible Fest 2020 is going to be a virtual experience due to the COVID-19 situation. And if you scroll down, you can see that Ansible could be used to automate infrastructure, applications, networks, containers, security, or cloud. So why Ansible? So the reason is simple, because it's simple. So yeah, so again, it's like human readable automation, and you don't need any special coding skills. So if you're a user, you just need to know about the YAML file format, and because you will be writing some playbooks there. I will explain what a task, a play, or playbook is later on. And again, tasks are executed in orders, and it's usable by every team. So next is, it's really powerful. It's simple, but again, it's really powerful. You could use it for app deployment, configuration management, workflow orchestrations, and again, network automation. So third advantage or feature of Ansible, which is like it has agentless architecture. So basically you don't need any sort of agent running there, and you could simply use open SSH connection and execute the tasks there. And so no agent to exploit or update, and you can just get started with it immediately. So yeah, that's pretty much about what is Ansible and why Ansible. So next is Ansible installation, and basically there are many ways to install Ansible, and here I will be installing it using pip, which is a Python package library manager. And so let's start. So the command would be pip3 install Ansible. I would suggest to go for Python 3, because Python 2.7 is going to be or already is deprecated. So yeah, this will take some time. So yeah, I think we are done with the installation. So basically that command installed all the Ansible command, playbook commands, documentation, inventory management, or plugins. So to confirm this, you can execute Ansible version. Okay, so this provides useful information like what is the location of Ansible config file, and executable, and what Python version it sees, and the packages. So now we have successfully installed the Ansible, and now we are going to need a server first, and then again SSH should be enabled so that we can connect to that server and execute our tasks or commands. So I have VyOS server running, and we can first try to establish a SSH connection so that we can like confirm whether we have this connectivity to that server. So yeah, and so there is a way to confirm whether we are able to connect to particular managed host, and we can do that through ping module as well. And to use ping module, we don't need to write a complete play, like we don't need to have a playbook. We can simply execute or run a ad hoc command. So an ad hoc command is a single Ansible task to perform quicker, and then you don't want to save that for later. So before executing the ad hoc command, Ansible need to know about the managed host so that it can establish a connection there and perform specific tasks. So the way to do that is to mention that host in inventory. So let's just clean this up. So let's create a directory here. So first let's just create inventory file. So you can define a group here. Let's call it VyOS, and then you can provide the IP address. So the way to run the ad hoc command is Ansible -i inventory name, and then name of the group, and with -m option module name, and then again with -u username, which is the VyOS in our case, and press enter. So what message we are getting is that failed to connect to the host via SSH. So the reason here is that I haven't passed any sort of password or anything like that, so it's failing for the authentication part here. So what we can do is ask pass, and now you need to provide the password here, which is VyOS in this case. So here we have the response. So the ping module is basically a trivial test module. It always returns pong on the successful contact. So, and again, this is not a ICMP ping. This is just a trivial test module that requires Python on remote node. So we are able to successfully contact the managed host there, and I think now we can go ahead with our playbooks, and we can do some basic tasks to maybe configure the interfaces, or maybe configure some descriptions and other stuff. So if you go onto the device and see what sort of configuration we have there, you can use show configuration commands, grep interfaces. So what we have here is H0, H1, and 2 and 3. So basically H0 is the one where we are establishing connection. So we have the IP address, which is basically assigned by DHCP, and I think we can play around with H1, H2, and H3 here. Okay, as you can see, for this ad hoc command we passed the inventory file, a username, and then to prompt for the password we had this ask pass. So there are ways we can reduce this as well, and which is the better way to deal with Ansible actually. So let's have a config file here. So in this we can have default configuration, So I'm basically providing the path to the inventory I want to use, and which is like the current directory here. So I will just put the inventory file name. This should work. And then again, for the variables like username, password, we can have all sort of information in inventory file. So here we are. The way to do that is group name and then where's. So first thing would be Ansible connection. Sorry, here we only need username. So Ansible SSH user, which is VyOS, and then Ansible SSH pass, which is again password is VyOS in this case. So let's try to run that adhoc command again, and we can, this time we don't have to pass the inventory file name and the username or the ask pass option there. So this time all you need to do is just write Ansible, name of the group you want to run ping module against, and then -m and then module name. So yeah, so basically modules are bits of codes transferred to target system and executed to satisfy the task. So next I'm going to actually write a playbook here and execute a task in which I will be configuring some of the interfaces, L3 interfaces for the VyOS device, and we can start with this. So in this case I will be using L3 interfaces module, and you can also look up that on the internet. So let's type L3 interfaces for VyOS, and here we are. So if you go through the documentation, you can choose the specific version from here as well. I'm on the latest. So you can see the arg spec here. So basically config is a list of dictionary, and again IPv4 is also a list, v6 also a list, and then we need to provide the name of the interface, and if you are having any virtual interfaces you can also configure the IP addresses for that as well with L3 interfaces module. And the operation it supports currently are merged, replaced, overridden, deleted. So basically merged is anything you want to add to the configuration, and with replace you can replace the some configuration. It will simply delete some of the configuration and replace that with additional configuration there. And overridden, it will override basically all the configuration for all the interfaces. And deleted, you can delete all the interfaces, or you can simply delete specific interfaces. So there are examples as well, and you can see. So if you want to configure interfaces, your playbook gonna look like something this. You can, I mean, obviously you can have different IP addresses here, but the format will be same. You have to provide the name of the interface, what type of IP address you are going to configure, and there could be multiple IP addresses, so because it's a list. And similarly for virtual interfaces you can have multiple IP addresses, whether it's IPv4 or v6. So yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to add a new file here. It's going to be, let's start with merged operation. So the way to start playbook is having these. hosts. So basically this is going to be name of the group in our inventory file, and then what tasks we are going to perform. So you can provide the name of the task here. So it's merge the provided configuration with existing configuration. And now I'm going to specify which module I'm going to use here. Which is VyOS L3 interfaces, and then config, which is a list of dictionaries. So first entry would be specific to eth1 in this case, and I'm going to configure a IPv4 address, which is again list of addresses, right? So it's going to be address and whatever address you want to configure. You can also configure IPv6 address here. So we can have multiple addresses as well, right? Under IPv4 we could have some other IP addresses as well. So let's make it. So similarly, I mean, if you want for v6, you can have multiple IP addresses there. So next we could have an entry for another interface as well. So let's have for eth2. So I'm just going to copy this here and change the IP address. So basically one thing we can do here is we can specify the operation with state. So it is a merged operation. So the default operation is merged. So even if you won't specify this, it will be performed as a merged. So now what we have here is we are providing the name of the host here and the task. So we are having only one task here, and the module we are using is VyOS L3 interfaces, and according to argspec we are having a config, which is a list of dictionary having entry for one interfaces, which has further IPv4 and v6 interfaces, and then for eth2 we are having only one IP address here. So let's try to execute this. Okay, so the way to execute this is Ansible playbook for verbose output, and then name of your playbook. Okay, so we have got so our task basically failed here, and the message we are getting is connection type SSH is not valid for this module. So let's see what's there in our inventory file, and then we can see okay what went wrong actually. So in our inventory file we are specifying what type of what is the user, what is the IP address for this particular host, and what is the password here. But but what we need to provide here is also the Ansible connection type. Which is network CLI, and what else we need here? Operating system. So basically we need to provide the operating system here. There could be multiple type of network devices. It could be iOS, iOS XR, Junos, Arista. So in this case it's VyOS. So I think now our playbook should run fine. So we can see that something has changed, and our task executed successfully, and we can see that our invocation here. So you can see what sort of commands it formed internally and got executed on the device. So basically these 4 commands got executed on the device there. So so this was the before config. So basically what was there on device before executing any task. So we can see that for ith3 we had no IP address configured. For ith0 it was DHCP. For ith1 nothing, no IP was configured there, and same was the case for ith2. So what happened after executing our task is that we can see that we have 2 IPv4 addresses and 1 IPv6 addresses for ith1 interface, and so ith0 is same, it's DHCP there, and for ith2 we have 1 IPv4 address. So basically it's because we executed these 4 commands successfully. So you can see that color is yellow and change is 1. Let's try to rerun this playbook, and so it should be idempotent because we are executing same task, and it's the same configuration on the device, so nothing should be changed on that device. So let's try to rerun this. So this time our task got executed and nothing changed. So because the configuration was same. So every module is like idempotent. So if you run it again and again, nothing will happen there. It will just basically fetch the configuration. So this time we can see that there is before and we don't have any after because there isn't. So, and no commands got executed. And yeah, that's pretty much with the merge operation. So I think in this tutorial we will just cover up to this merged operation, and in next tutorial I would try to cover more complex operations, and I would brought more resource module into my place. So yeah, see you in next video.